State dismisses rumors of missing APEC Maseratis. Over 90 million kina for Vanimo and Boram. And 5 juvenile escapees surrender to authorities in East New Britain.
This is the National EMTV News with Helen Sayer.
Good evening, this is Friday's news. Thanks for your company. Finance Minister James Marape has dismissed allegations of missing APEC Maseratis. Following an inspection with the media this morning, Minister Marape says all 40 vehicles are in stock, including the Bentleys, and all of them will be up for tender. APEC Chief Executive Chris Hawkins says all APEC assets will be accounted for, with police assisting to recoup the 3 missing vehicles.
It's almost 3 months after Papua New Guinea successfully hosted the 2018 APEC Summit, but questions of missing Maseratis and other APEC assets continue to be public debate. This morning, the media was invited for an inspection at the warehouse in downtown.
Secretary Nagin, as well as the National Procurement Commission, will take charge of disposal of all state assets. And the process of taking ownership of those state assets and disposal starts now as we speak.
The head count this morning confirms 40 Maseratis and 2 Bentleys. The third Bentley has been issued to the Office of the Governor General. APEC Chief Executive Officer Chris Hawkins says state agencies are working together to take full stock of all APEC assets.
So out of all the more than 400 vehicles that we had for APEC, to have 1 missing, it's unfortunate, but I think it's better than I think most people would have expected. The process then is that if there are any more that are not returned, as we request them, I write to the Commissioner of Police and seek his the police intervention to recover those vehicles so that I can then deliver them to the Department of Finance and to the Secretary and to the under the Minister's care.
Following a letter from the Ombudsman Commission, the Finance Department will be carrying out an inventory exercise. This is expected to take place in the next 2 weeks. For the donated vehicles and other assets, the Finance Minister says a review will be done before handing over to schools and health facilities.
They have placed a request to us that what they've given to us will not be sold, and so we will, as a matter of public policy, make a policy through Cabinet approval that they will be distributed to our educational and health institutions.
A bid fee of 1,000 kina is open for interested buyers for the 40 Maseratis and 2 Bentleys. According to the Finance Department, bidding opens as of today.
The successful bidders will be expected to go to the Finance Cash Office to pay the prices for which they bidded on the vehicles. Now, once you have paid fully what you have bidded for, then the vehicles will be registered under your name and then driven out from the shed. So that is the process.
Jack Lapava Jr., National EMTV News.
About 90 million kina from the Asian Development Bank loan will be used to change the face of Boram and Vanimo airports. In the past 2 days, the National Airports Corporation, Prime Minister Peter O'Neill and a state team visited WIWAC and Vanimo to officiate the projects. All these are under the Civil Aviation Development Investment Program.
The Prime Minister and members of the Cabinet, including senior government bureaucrats, were in West Sepik yesterday to officiate the upgrade of Vanimo Airport. This will include a new terminal building, new runway, fencing and other airport works.
Also, we increase the capacity of the airport so that all big plane must come start. People like Vanimo Airport to become the gateway, also Minister Itoto. Gateway of country, not a gateway. In a Moresby, that's all.
For Vanimo, the ADB loan of 35.9 million is being sourced under the CADI program. The government believes this vital infrastructure will attract investments and help support provincial economies.
That is why we want to make sure that Wutum must work, the airport must work, and the road between here and Wutum, Mr. also people need him 6-km bridge. Next week, Minister for Works and his secretary will come back here into Vanimo with the engineers. They must fix it.
West Sepik shares borders with Indonesia and is the gateway to the Asian market. Governor Tony Wowo says the upgrade of the airport is essential for the province.
The airport development projects
is important for this province, and it must be clarified as an international airport.
A similar event took place on Wednesday for East Sepik Province. The Boram airport will now be upgraded at the cost of 50.9 million kina.
So it's a timely investment by preparing province for future economic growth and development. The tourism, the commercial investors come, and we are very, very grateful.
For East Sepik, Governor Alan Berry is positive the airport upgrade will add value to the agriculture growth of the province, especially the multi-billion cocoa projects and its tourism and vanilla industry.
People of Sepik, Mipla Hamamas Lokisim service. That's on 1+ something. Mipla like lo work hard. Now Mipla need him, government lo support him, Mipla lo something. Why Mipla can work hard.
Jacob Junior, National MTV News.
While in West Sepik, Prime Minister Peter O'Neill and Governor Tony Wowo visited the Wutung border post. The PM was taken for an aerial tour of the area before meeting locals at Wutung Primary School. Upon arrival, the Prime Minister said the border post will be supported with the electricity project extending to the area. PM O'Neill says the border post has been neglected and the government is serious about improving support to it. One item on the agenda is to maintain border protection and work with Indonesian authorities to prevent the movement of contraband items and illegal activities. 2 criminals have been shot dead by police in Alotau as the operation to hunt down Tommy Baker continues in Milne Bay Province. Earlier this week, over 12 men linked to Baker's gang were apprehended in a police raid. The news is a relief for many, but residents in Alotau have been urged to take precautions when moving around.
3 weeks after the shooting death of Milne Bay's provincial legal officer, the burning down of 9 houses, and the reported death of a mother and a 4-month-old baby in Alotau, police have made a breakthrough. In a police raid earlier this week, 2 men were shot dead, while the other 2 seriously injured. Those apprehended are believed to be part of Baker's gang. However, the prime suspect, 33-year-old Tommy Baker, from Milne Bay and Gulf provinces, is still at large. The burning down of 8 police houses on January 23rd was in retaliation over the burning down of a family home belonging to one of Baker's men. Police Commissioner Gary Baki released a statement urging Baker and his gang to surrender themselves or risk being shot dead as well. It also states that the absence of a district court magistrate in Alotau means the 12 men will be flown to Port Moresby to have their case arraigned before the Waigani Committal Courts. And the police commissioner has remained silent on investigations into the November road accident in Alotau, where a policeman based in Moresby province allegedly killed a mother and a daughter when he ran over them. Thekla Gunga, National MTV News.
A failed robbery in Port Moresby has left 1 dead and 3 seriously wounded. NCD Metropolitan Superintendent Perodrano said the 4 suspects attempted to steal a vehicle at Koki Fish Market but could not get away as police arrived in time to disturb the carjacking. The victims involved are a Chinese couple.
The attempted carjacking occurred on Tuesday afternoon. Police say the 4 suspects held up the owner of the vehicle, a Chinese national, who was waiting for his wife at the car park. But as the suspects tried to make a getaway, they were surrounded by police. This led to an exchange of shots that left 1 dead and 3 others injured. This is an account by an eyewitness.
Ran kam sut mo los tone na rapem rosi pampet ne ran kam chem gim 3 plus shot or 4 plus shot le now. Mi peran go beke no sem. Ol mangi ka mo police kam la kosutis la driver em purang gorau ne. Driver purang gorau na pem. Observe mo peni doye te mem cham gorau no stone.
Footage captured by MTV shows the extent of injuries the 4 suspects sustained. One died, the other was shot in the head, and the third was shot on the left leg. St. John Ambulance arrived within minutes of the shootout and transported the 3 injured to the Port Moresby General Hospital. While the 3 are nursing their wounds, police say their identities are yet to be confirmed. Meanwhile, police officers who responded to this incident have been acknowledged for preventing the carjacking. Thekla Gunga, National MTV News.
You're with National MTV News. We'll return with more stories after the break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. 5 juvenile escapees have been recaptured, while 6 others are still at large following a dawn jailbreak last week at the Caravat prison facility. Most of those recaptured were handed in by their family members.
It took about a week to recapture half of the total 11 who escaped during a dawn breakout 5 days ago. East New Britain's Provincial Police Commander, Senior Inspector Joseph Tabali, says that wouldn't have been possible without the help of their family members who voluntarily surrendered them to police.
I'm appealing to their relatives, the parents of those juveniles, escapees. If they do turn up or come into your place or your restaurant, please, I'm asking you to cooperate with the authorities, law enforcement agencies. You bring them over to us.
At least 6 of them are still at large. The PPC says a joint operation between police and CS officers is continuing to recapture them.
Today is Friday, it's 1 week now. So far we have recaptured 5. The latest one was yesterday.
The 11 juveniles escaped in a dawn breakout 5 days ago after cutting through the ceiling of their cell. The recent escape has yet again brought to light the state of the prison's facility that is slowly crumbling. In 2017, MTV spoke to former Hawa Jail commander Simon Sobaim, who has shared sentiments over the urgency to maintain the facility both for the prisoners and the housing for prison staff.
It was a colonial setup here. Our guard towers are very bad. My officers cannot climb and stand up there.
Edwin Fidelis, National MTV News, Kokopo.
The Hawa prison in Tari, Hela province is set to reopen in March after 20 years. The prison was closed in 1997 during the drought and was never reopened. The reopening of the prison is part of major recovery efforts being made by the provincial government after the 2018 earthquake and tribal fights.
This is a prison that was built then abandoned. Hawa prison outside of Tari town once had prison officers who guarded the place. They were withdrawn and the prison facility abandoned.
No, 1997, time below El Nino. Where I dry up now, I'm out. All work money were out now. I'm close along and start going up. So now we're like
Not many people want to talk about its past and why this place was left as it is and who was responsible for the building contracts. The Hela provincial government just wants to see it operational by March. The opening of the prison coincided with the installation of the new resident judge, Acting Justice John Kaumi. For the provincial government, the full course of justice will now be served.
Priorities, fencing, security fencing, residential area come John Aplo compound, and priority 1. 2, admin building, blended in one block.
Governor Philip Undialu has also called on national departments for more support in Hela.
I've been calling on the Department of Police, the Commissioner and the Minister to make swift changes in this province. And
the Correctional Service has resumed its presence and the provincial government says it wants to see more national entities open up provincial offices in Hela. Scott Wide, National EMTV News, Tari.
The West New Britain province will be more focused on rural empowerment. Speaking at the presentation of the West New Britain provincial budget today, Governor Sasindran Muthuval said he believes in fair distribution of services in the province. He also outlined major development plans captured in this year's budget.
With the theme Rural Empowerment, this year's budget for the West New Britain province is said to be one of the most fairly distributed budgets the province has ever been able to achieve. Governor Sasindran Muthuval said funds will be fairly distributed to see fair distribution of services to the people of West New Britain. Under this year's budget, the province has allocated up to 200,000 kina for capacity building in all local level governments in the province. The governor said they will also continue to support the Tertiary Education Scholarship Program, which has been allocated 3.8 million kina under this budget.
But our capital investment stands almost 39,610,000 kina within the province, which includes some of the our fixed item expenses like every year since 2008. Now, almost more than 11 years, we have been funding this Tertiary Education Scholarship Assistance Program.
The governor also outlined some of the major challenges faced by the province. He said due to the changes in the weather patterns, the province has seen many bridges collapsed and roads deteriorating. To address these challenges, the province has allocated funds for the new roads project in Thalassia District and Kimbe to Kendrian Highway. The province will also partner with the Works Department to see the rebuilding of the bridges.
It's all funding coming from our development budget, and apart from COCO program, we still working together with Department of Works to connect Kimbe to Kendrian, and it's a matter of fixing another 10 kilometers more and one more bridge, they call it Wall Bridge, which we have captured in this year's budget.
Member for Thalassia Francis Manake, who was with the governor, said they will also open up to donor agencies for more funding for development and empowering the people. He commended the governor for this year's budget and assured him his support in delivering the province development plans this year.
I fully support the governor and our provincial administration, district administration for delivering this budget, and also the challenge will be how we're going to implement, since that is a first budget that we've incorporated together.
Rayon Lakingu, National EMTV News.
The Png Biomass Project in Mahkum Valley, Moresby is waiting for the government to construct a promised power plant that will produce 30 megawatts of biomass energy to the Ramu grid. Png Biomass is a subsidiary of Oil Search Limited, signed a power purchase agreement with Png Power Limited in 2015 to generate 15 megawatts of power through its Ramu grid. Project manager Michael Hansen also says they don't know why the government is delaying its progress, which is supposed to begin its first delivery of power by next year.
According to Mr. Hansen, the biomass project in the Mahkum Valley of Moresby province cost almost 600 million kina. Hansen said Oil Search and the banks are prepared to invest in this project. However, they need to know if they are going to be paid by the government for providing the electricity. The project director told EMTV News that the funding requires a commitment from the government to stand behind Png Power Limited and support the project.
Banks, we have ADB, IFC, EU have all come to visit the site, and all are very supportive, including some of the commercial banks and the Export Finance Agency of Australia. And they know we have a signed contract. They know we've met all our responsibilities. It's the requirements. And it's really the government needs to meet their requirements to give confidence to investors as well.
The Png Biomass Project in the Mahkum Valley of Moresby was established in 2010. In 2015, it was endorsed by the NEC, and then in 2018, its power purchase price was approved by ICCC. The project is supported by a 25-year power purchasing agreement that was signed with Png Power Limited in December 2015. Under the agreement, Png Biomass will be supplying power to Png Power and then PPL will retail it to users on the Ramu grid. The project has met all its requirements, including landowners' benefits. The only delay is the final investment decision between the PNG government and the company.
You know, this is a 25-year project. We get paid for the power plant over that 25 years, so we need to know that we are going to get paid to recover the money we've invested in the power plant. And that's the same with any project, be it coal, be it which has finance, be it a big dam. The lenders will require some form of security package from the state to ensure that over that long period they get paid.
According to the landowners, under the agreement signed in 2015, the government promised to bring 30 megawatts of biomass energy to the Ramu grid, but that didn't happen. The landowners are demanding an answer from the Minister for Energy, Sam Basil, and Treasury Minister Charles Abel on the delay of constructing the promised power plant 7 years ago.
They commit that project and then only pushing this project to go forward, to move forward. But also losing Muslim stop and they concentrate on another project inside the country.
If we have to capitalize on every any social problem that we have, the law and order is concerned. Give Mahkum people that opportunity, that whatever that is already in place, so that we get the employment, the people to sustain there.
Landowners, mipla sanap lo rights blom lo toktogo lo government blom mipla today lo at least enforce him. Na make him give him green light lo company blompa Mahkum Valley biomass lo power plant masana.
Julie Badui Owa, National MTV News, Leh.
While much has been said about the importance of getting all children vaccinated, there is also a need for people to know that poor sanitation can lead to the contraction of polio. A survey conducted by UNICEF shows that most schools and health facilities around the country do not have proper toilets. And with polio contracted through the fecal-oral route, sanitation is a challenge in the fight against polio.
Not only in schools and health facilities, but in homes and villages, people are still using semi-permanent and pit toilets. Without the proper disposal of fecal wastes and access to clean water, children who are not vaccinated are at a high risk of contracting polio. As the fight against polio continues, people also need to understand that poor sanitation is a link to contraction of polio.
So after cleaning, after defecation, we have to make sure that we wash our hands with soap. After cleaning the child, once the child has sort of defecated, and after disposing the child's feces. Before feeding the children, before cooking food, before touching food, we must make sure that we wash our hands properly with soap.
With polio transmitted through the fecal-oral route, prevention measures should be taken, especially when handling food and drinking water. The general public is advised not to buy food or eat food that is not prepared properly, especially sold by street vendors. Proper sanitation and access to clean water is a huge challenge for the country in this fight against polio.
Toilets, we must have them and we must use them all the times. We should not leave feces out in the open at any point of time. Safely dispose child feces. Child feces can be safely disposed in two basic ways. One is basically either dispose them off in the toilets that we have at home or dig a small pit and then bury them in the ground.
Patricia Keamo, National MTV News.
The Southern Highlands Provincial Government presented its provincial budget to the Treasury Department today. Speaking at the budget presentation today, Governor William Powie said the province has been having problems with internal revenue. He said this year they will ensure that they collect all revenues from the relevant government agencies to ensure service delivery.
Southern Islands Province Governor William Powie says the province has not been receiving internal revenue from the relevant government agencies since last year. This has affected the implementation of the provincial budget last year. The governor said this year he will ensure all internal revenue comes in on time for the implementation of this year's budget.
So what I'm trying to say is that for 2018, we didn't get any internal revenue. Royalty is my internal revenue. IDG is my internal revenue. Unitized development levy, even the development levy on the LNG is internal revenue. We don't have much business to generate GST, so we depend on those things. And if those things are not forthcoming, it affects the implementation of my budget.
Despite the challenges, the province today presented its budget totaling up to 298,532,000 kina. The budget captures three major priorities the province will be focusing on this year. The major priorities include law and order, small to medium-term enterprises, and governance and leadership. The governor said the budget also captures the PNG grassroots games that the province will host in 2020.
But three important things: law and order, get the rule of law, support police, CIS, and village courts, as well as the law and justice sector. Whilst emphasizing on law and order, we empower the people through SMEs and small businesses in Southern Highlands.
The governor said they will also partner with development partners to ensure better education and health services for the people. The governor urged all districts to work together with the provincial government to ensure service delivery to the people.
And see if we can manage this as a game changer to trigger service delivery governance in Southern Highlands province. I know we are coming from a very difficult environment, but these are the challenges. I'm confident.
Treasurer Charles Abel, upon receiving the budget, assured government support, saying the government will ensure they collect all internal revenues to see service delivery.
We note the emphasis on law and order and together hand in hand with empowering the people, especially through SME engagement, and improving service delivery by better coordinating the different agencies, including with the districts.
Rayon Lakingu National, MTV News.
This week, the Prime Minister and other MPs continued a series of visits to the provinces. In Madang, tempers flared as the Provincial Police Commander told the Madang MP, Brian Kramer, not to interfere with the PM's program due to a breach of protocol. And again, depending on which side of the house you're on, the opposition and government tussle for influence has split audiences, some watching as observers, with others activity responding to political social media trolls. Scott White takes a look at some of the events that happened in This Week in Review.
So let's start in the Momasa region and Madang in particular. That's where much of the political focus was this week. It's where the Prime Minister Peter O'Neill and a large delegation was welcomed by Madang Governor Peter Yama and other members of the Madang community, except Madang MP Brian Kramer. Earlier, Kramer announced on Facebook that he would be there to attend the gathering, whether he was invited or not, and that he would bring his own PA system if he was not allowed to use the one the PM was using.
Pull up. No, come up.
On stage, Mr. O'Neill made several announcements. The figure of the projects delivered or to be delivered, according to the speeches, was something in the order of 600 million kina, and that included the Bana Bridge and an airport upgrade. The Madang MP wasn't on stage, but he did, however, live stream the speeches on Facebook, including the speech of the Madang Governor Peter Yama. At the end of the speeches and the groundbreaking ceremony, Kramer drew attention from the main stage when he tried to address the crowd and the Prime Minister. The Provincial Police Commander, Ben Neneo, obviously annoyed by the Madang MP, lost his cool very publicly.
Yeah, I know. That's right. So you question some protocol. Protocol one. You have no protocol. No protocol. You had your done yesterday. Enough. That's my constitutional duty. It's my constitutional duty to talk about. Yes. No, I give you time. I have
So like any other political perspective, there are two sides to it. From the PM and the government, supporters accused Kramer of breaching protocol, and as one daily newspaper put it, Kramer blatantly gate-crashed the PM's event. From the Kramer perspective, his was an attempt to get the people's concerns heard, including that of unpaid teachers. In May 2017, a similar event happened in the Oro province, where Governor Gary Juffa, who was not invited to the opening of a new hospital theatre, showed up at the venue and forced the cancellation of the PM's visit. On to Wewak in the East Sepik, a totally different atmosphere. Governor Alan Bird welcomed the PM. Governor Bird said quite explicitly later that as an MP he disagrees with the Prime Minister on many things, but he still accorded respect to the PM as a representative of his people.
Pasin blo mibla you sawe Prime Minister. Tai mibla stablo Big Mac. Mibla by make him noise. Something in Australia. Mibla by talk out. That's all time you come lo place. Mibla by soy you passing.
Away from the politics, other major attention grabbers this week were the shootings in Alotau and Port Moresby. A police unit sent from Port Moresby to Alotau raided locations where they shot dead 2 members of the Tommy Baker gang. Weapons recovered include this Korean-made K1A1 assault rifle brandished on Facebook by a gang member weeks earlier. It's believed he was one of those shot and killed by police. Also in Port Moresby, 3 members of a gang who tried to rob a Chinese couple were shot by guards and killed, and this was one of several violent crimes committed in the capital city this month.
You're at Friday's News. Stay tuned. We have more news for you on the other side of this break. Welcome back. You're with Turning Overseas now. It's comfortable, quiet, carries 500 passengers and was built as the future of long-distance travel. But the Airbus A380 Super Jumbo has proved simply too big to succeed.
When it first took to the skies, the A380 was billed as the future of long-haul air travel. A double-decker super jumbo, carrying more than 500 passengers. But today, just 13 years after its launch, Airbus has called it a day.
I think what we're seeing here is the end of a large 4-engine aircraft, and that is what it is. I mean, there has been speculation for years whether we were 10 years too early with 380. I think it becomes clear that we were probably at least 10 years too late.
Passengers loved it. So much room. The A380 was designed to carry large numbers of people between heavily congested hub airports like London, Dubai and Singapore. But smaller, more fuel-efficient planes were already coming along, easier for airlines to fill.
What's happening now is that the world, the way we fly has changed. We all want to fly from our local airport, and the modern twin-engined aircraft allow us to do that. We can bypass the hubs.
Demand for this plane never really took off. Its largest customer, Emirates, has scaled back orders for new A380s, sealing this jumbo jet's fate. Production will now end in 2 years' time. The A380 will still be in the skies for years to come. Technically brilliant, but too expensive for many airlines. A jumbo project which ultimately never made a profit, but will still earn its place in aviation history.
US-backed Kurdish forces are escalating their offensive of a last ISIS holdout as thousands of civilians flee. Since 2014, after proclaiming itself, ISIS has seen itself wiped off the map. All that remains is a tiny pocket in a village on Syria's border with Iran.
A desperate last stand. ISIS fighters posting these images from Baghouz as they battle advancing US-backed Kurdish forces. The once powerful and imposing caliphate is now reportedly defending just 2 streets in the village. An estimated 500 to 600 remain, mainly foreigners, the toughest and most ideologically driven.
The terrorists there are the finest fighters from different nationalities, including Europeans, Afghans, Pakistanis and Iraqis. They are all professionals who have past experience in other terrorist groups, including Al-Qaeda.
The offensive is being ramped up as thousands of civilians have fled, but the militants have hostages, including British journalist John Cantley. ISIS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi was reportedly in the Baghouz area recently before escaping to the desert. It's believed there are tens of thousands of ISIS fighters spread over Syria and Iraq, and an imminent pullout of US forces from Syria is sowing uncertainty.
If we are withdrawing these troops, there's no plan. And let's see, look what happened. All the countries who funded or said that they will fund stabilizing eastern Syria, they paused their money now because there's no plan anymore.
So a last stand here, but far from a last gasp for the ISIS global threat.
Among the civilians who fled Baghouz, British teenager Shamima Begum. She left London to join ISIS in 2015 when she was just 15 years old. And now, after losing 2 children and pregnant with a third, the 19-year-old wants to return home. But she's afraid she'll be prosecuted.
This is the route across the deserts taken by Shamima Begum as she fled 2 weeks ago from one of the last specks of territory held by the Islamic State group. Today, hundreds more IS women were making the same journey, heading for this camp in northern Syria. The same camp where yesterday, Shamima Begum reappeared after almost 4 years. She had travelled from London to join IS with 2 school friends. One of those friends is now dead. She herself was married at 15 and has lost 2 children to malnutrition and disease. But she says going to join IS was the right decision.
I don't regret it. When I came and I saw that there was like underground oppression and all this happening, it came as a shock to me, like this is actually happening.
Do you think this is the end of the caliphate?
Yeah, I really do. I don't have high hopes.
Did you ever see executions?
No, I never. No, but I saw a beheaded head in the bin.
In the bins?
Yeah, through the bin.
What was that like when you first saw that? These are the heads of captives?
Yeah. Didn't faze me at all.
Today, the Home Office said that anyone who's been involved in the conflict in Syria can expect to be investigated by the police on their return to check if they've committed any criminal offence and to ensure that they don't pose a risk to national security. Shiraz Meher, who's been studying IS since 2014, says even teenage girls like Shamima Begum were helping the murderous caliphate.
Just by virtue of being there, they were building a kind of critical mass on the ground. They were having these children who were believed to be and called the so-called cubs of the caliphate, that they would go on to be future fighters.
But in the East London Bengali community that Shamima Begum comes from, some say she must still be treated fairly and as the British citizen that she is.
From my point of view, she was a young child when she was groomed by ISIS and seduced by some twisted form of empowerment for Muslims.
And as IS fights its last battle, the arguments about what to do with its supporters are going to intensify over the next few months.
A man who was attacked by a mountain lion in Colorado has spoken of his ordeal for the first time. He managed to kill the lion with his bare hands.
Travis Kaufman was running along a nature trail north of Denver when he came face to face with a mountain lion.
I turned around and just was pretty bummed out to see a mountain lion chasing after me.
The 31-year-old says the young mountain lion lunged at him and began to attack.
It grabbed onto my hand and wrist, and from there it started to claw at my face and neck.
That's when Kaufman says his fight-or-flight responses kicked in. He was able to pin the cougar down and use a rock as a weapon.
It was pretty heavy and it's kind of hard to wield, and I tried to give it a few bashes in the back of the head.
When that didn't work, the avid outdoorsman says he was left with no choice but to strangle the cougar to death.
And I was able to kind of shift my weight and get a foot on its neck. And at that point, I stepped on its neck with my right foot Another couple of minutes later, it finally stopped moving.
Kaufman managed to get to safety and then to the hospital with the help of strangers. With cuts and bruises to his face and body, he had to get more than a dozen stitches.
I feel really fortunate that the situation turned out the way that it did. And I really feel like I made all the right decisions.
After the attack, officials with Colorado Parks and Wildlife say they captured 2 other young mountain lions in the area.
True Guy Sports is next. Don't go away.
True Guy Sports.
Welcome to True Guy Sports. Toti City dwellers and Tahiti's AS Tefana are still gunning for a top 2 finish in Group A of the OFC Champions League. The team that qualifies will proceed to the knockout stage of the tournament.
A draw or a win will secure the second qualifying spot in Group A for Ley. AS Tefana will need a win and will have to score about 3 goals to qualify. Ley will face ladder leaders Heinhene Sport in their last match this weekend. After 2 wins, Heinhene qualified for the knockout stages of the competition. Ley will face a tough side this weekend, which will determine their fate in the 2019 OFC Champions League. By the time Ley City take the field against Heinhene, they will know exactly what is required from them to finish in the top 2. A draw will definitely be enough for them, even a defeat depending on the result of the previous match between Tefana and Malampa, but with a win, they could finish on top in the final group standings. Ley have conceded early goals in both matches, which is a worrying sign for the team, but their determination and drive to succeed is what pushes Peter Gunemba's players. The match against Heinhene Sport will be played tomorrow at New Caledonia State Yoshida Stadium. Elijah Levet, National EMTV Sports.
Port Moresby Rugby Football League will start its pre-season matches known as the MRDC Nines this weekend and continue next weekend. The 6 tournaments are expected to see 48 teams, 32 men's and 16 women's teams. From the 48 spots available, only 6 spots will be offered as invitations to interested suburban league competitions in both divisions, looking to be part of their Premier League competition. POM RFL will start its season proper straight after the MRDC Nines tournaments. True Guy Sports continues after the break. Stay tuned.
True Guy Sports.
Welcome back to True Guy Sports. The Kumul Petroleum National Soccer League competition will see all 4 regions participate this weekend. The New Guinea Islands Conference will kick off round 1 in Kimbe, West New Britain Province.
The Southern Conference will enter round 4 of competition this weekend in Port Moresby at the Png Football Stadium. Hekari United and POM United will battle it out in the last match at 5 p.m. to see who tops the Southern Conference standings. PRK Gulf Komaro will play the young Southern Strikers team in the first match of round 4, followed by Eastern Stars and Central United. Then Star Mountain FC will take on Bougainville FC. The Northern Conference will also go into round 4 of competition with Laiwaden FC to play Mahkum and Tuspab to take on Lahi in Medang, while Morobe United plays Besta at the Ser Ignatius Kilagi Stadium in Ley tomorrow. After a successful launch of the KPNSL Highlands Conference last weekend, they go into round 2 this weekend. Simbu FC will go up against Mount Hagen, Engalaima will face Kagwa Erave, and Blue Kumuls will play Aporomai. All these matches will be played tomorrow. The NGI Conference starts on Sunday in Kimbe, West New Britain Province, with the first match to be played between Shebu Arob and Rudders FC, while West Tribe will take on NBPOL Green Goal Liners. Elijah Levet, National EMTV Sports.
And that ends True Guy Sports. I'll be back with the weather details after the break.
True Guy Sports.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
A look at the weather forecast in Port Moresby. Mostly fine weather in Port Moresby, like I said, and drizzles, although cloudy in Terma.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
And that's been the news, sport and weather for today, Friday, February 15, 2019. Have a safe weekend, and don't forget Saturday night at 9:30 p.m. we shall see the premiering of MTV's Green Angels, a new and exciting program which takes you inside the world of the St. John's Ambulance Service. From the MTV News team, pleasant viewing. Good night.